What's up, Wholesale Nation? Welcome to the podcast. Undrea, man, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
So what's going on? Let's talk about this seller that we're closing today.
Man, this has been a headache. That's all I can say. It's been like we've been trying to close this thing for like a little over a month. The seller, and I know there's illnesses out there. But this seller is a hoarder. But that's not the main problem. All right. The main problem is she wants to give us the hardest time possible to move out of this house. Is the only thing I can see.
We've done everything. I mean, we offered to move her. That wasn't enough. So we offered to pack her up.
Right.
She's only taken a few items.
Right.
But a little advice to all you guys out there. If you are offering some services to get a little bit more personal, add extra appeal to your offer. Don't blindly offer to move a hoarder.
Yes, we have learned, and that's actually going to be our segment for the day. Don't be that guy, because we were that guy today, right?
Don't be the guy that moves a hoarder.
So stupid me, what I did was I said, okay, we'll take care of the move, right? We had a buyer that's ready to go. He didn't want to do the lease back anymore because he saw the condition of the house and knew that the lady wasn't going to be out in time. And we kind of said the same thing. So we said, okay, I agreed to just go ahead. Let's just get a move. We'll pay for the move. The lady agreed that she was only going to take 3 items, and then 3 items were going to go to her house with her. And then she's going to have a few items that were going to go to storage. And then there's going to be about 95% of the stuff she just either wants thrown away or they're going to be going to to charity. Well, when the movers got there, all changed. It's the opposite of what we talked about. First of all, she wants 95% of the stuff boxed. Now, keep in mind, this house is from top to bottom full of stuff.
We had to hire somebody to dig a trail just to get her stuff out.
Right, yeah. So we had to make a pathway just to move the furniture out of the house. So the movers get there. They get there, and I'm thinking, okay, I think they had like 40 or 80 boxes.
They had 30 boxes or 40 boxes to begin with. They went back and got 50.
Right. And I'm thinking that, okay, that's going to be enough. The first 40 that's going to be enough for the things that she talked about. But she wanted everything boxed up, even the trash. She even boxed up the trash, right? And so that would be, I would say, my token of the day to you. My tip of the day to you is don't give people free reign on the move. Come up with a solution in the beginning, an agreement of exactly what you're going to be moving, especially when you're footing the bill.
We needed a plan. Now we're 190 boxes in, and she's asking for more. We finally put our foot down and said, this is enough.
Right.
The granddaughter came over yesterday, and she was upset that we were boxing up trash. And we really needed to pre-frame that conversation on how this was going to look and make sure that she bought into it. We thought we did, but, with the emotional attachment to the stuff that's in the house, it changed. It's amazing how it changed. And
right.
A little $3,000 move, or not even, a $1,500 move max became a $4,000 or $5,000 move. Yeah, so lesson learned. We should have already known that, but
right.
we thought that, get away with it, and well, we're going to pay for it now, and it's coming out of our fees. So build your margin in there, folks.
Right, get your margin in. Our main thing is that we wanted our buyer to be whole. Right, we wanted them to get a house that he would have to deal with the other problems. So we got that taken care of. It looks like the deal is going through. Everyone signed.
Well, she signed. So
she signed.
As soon as this thing funds, we're heading over to the Mexican restaurant for some celebratory queso and maybe
so excited.
Margarita.
Our poor transaction coordinator.
Yeah, God bless her.
Yeah, she's gone through a lot.
But it wasn't just that. It wasn't just the hoarding, though. It was the 33 phone calls a week, and woman could talk.
Yeah, I think we were like 100 phone calls in, and each one of them averages between the 30. I actually had a 2-hour conversation with her twice.
We should sum up the costs associated with talking to her. Oh man,
wow, this has been crazy. But it's over now. We've learned from it. And so next time we know what to do if we run into this situation. But today we have an exciting show for you today. We have one of our friends from one of our masterminds, James Hall, is on the show today.
He brought a lot of value.
Yeah, this guy, he's been doing this now, about 8 years. He's been doing this business. He's done a little bit of everything from wholesaling to flipping. But he brought a good perspective on, not only how you get started, but also how do you sustain a business, right? And get a business to where it's kind of running on its own to where you can move into other things, right? And that's what I really like about what James had to say. I mean, he definitely has some good nuggets to bring in. Okay. So with that said, I'd like to bring on Mr. James Hawk. Welcome to the show, man.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, man, just glad to have you on the show. Andy and I were kind of putting together like who we wanted on the show, and you were one of the guys that were top of mind. I met you in a mastermind a little over a year ago, and you and your business partner, and I knew you guys were doing some big things in the Florida market, and so I said, you know what, I need to find out what these guys are doing, and so that's what we're here today to go over that, right? We want to see exactly what you're doing now, and a little bit about who is James Hawk and how you got started in this business.
Yeah, man. And thank you guys for having me on, by the way. I really appreciate it. But yeah, so I started in 2010 full time, right? Before then I actually worked for, it was at the time, PDM Bridge. Now it's like something else, it's a steel fabrication company. We basically built bridges. So we were like featured on Mega Builders. It was really cool, right? And I was working night shift. I had a friend that was in real estate. And he was an investor, and I was trying to figure out what is this guy doing? Because he was telling me he was wholesaling essentially, right? So he was making money just flipping contracts, whatever. And I'm like, I need to figure this out. So once I learned the concept of what it was, I just, worked as if I wasn't at work, I was working on, starting this business. And then I finally did, it took me honestly, I think it was 5 or 6 months before I did my first deal. It was $4,000. Then a month and a half later, I did my second deal, which was a 2-house package for $20,000. And then I literally just quit my job and went all in. But that's what I did.
Right. So that's a big jump from one to doing a package of properties. Now that one deal, when you first got started, how did you find that?
Yeah. So that's an interesting story. I was talking to this guy, and when you start out, you start networking and everything else. So there was a guy that was trying to get going as well that was local to me at the time. And he actually found the seller and connected everything together. And then that's how I did that first deal. And then the second deal I did on my own.
And then from there, so did you start off wholesaling or were you flipping at the time? Because I know you've done a little bit of both.
Yeah. So right now we still do both. But at the time I started out, I was just wholesaling for the first 2.5, 3 years. It wasn't until 2013 that I actually did a true rehab. And that's how that first house is how I partnered up with my business partner, Hunter. I brought the deal, he brought the money, and then we formed a partnership and just kept it going from there.
Right. So in 2013, you guys partnered up. What was the mix of the business then?
Yeah, I mean, it was primarily, still wholesaling, but we were doing some rehabs. It was just by chance. We actually would call each other on each other's deals on Craigslist all the time. That's how we started. We met each other and started talking. And then I was like, man, I got this, this lead, and it was vacant in this highly desirable area at the beach in Ponte Vedra. I was like, why don't you just meet me over here? We meet up and we can check this house out. So we walked the house. It was a killer deal. I was like, look, I'm going to lock this thing up. And then he was like, well, what if I bring the money and we just try to flip this house? And I was like, you know what? I wanted to do a rehab anyway. So I was like, I'm game to do that. It worked out extremely well. And honestly, to this day, that was still it was an incredible deal. We netted just over $100,000 on that.
So at that point you said, we're married now.
Right. Honestly, if that doesn't get you excited real quick, I don't know what does, right?
First split to make 100 G's.
Right.
100, dude, we're going to just be partners. We're going to, you get excited, man. $100,000, things start moving.
Right.
So we kept it going, man. But it's been great.
Yeah. Yeah. So now, we look back at when you guys were, decided, okay, you made $100,000.
Right.
And you decided to partner up. Now, how did you know that was the right person to partner up with?
Yeah. So and that's a great question. So throughout the entire process, right, I think we spent 4 or 5 months in construction on the house. And like, you know, we spent a lot of time with each other. We both like dug in deep and like spent a lot of time working on that house together. It wasn't like one or the other really doing more or doing, you know, the construction management. We both managed that project together. And obviously through that time, you learn a lot about each other, right? And it just so happened that a lot of like, we believed in a lot of the same things, just a lot of things lined up. And, you know, like whenever, you know, you both have the same sets of morals and beliefs and everything like that, the same core values, at the end of it, it just made sense to continue it on for us.
Right. And, you know, we hear that a lot. I know in our mastermind, there's a lot of people that ask that question, like, should I bring on a partner? You know,
sure.
My thing when I first got started is like, you know, should I bring on a partner? And, you know, I didn't go out seeking a partner, and kind of like you,
right.
I didn't really seek one. You know, it just worked out that way. You know, Andy and I had met in another mastermind, but we had been around each other for about a year, maybe a little bit longer than that. Before.
I kept calling us bandit signs.
Yeah.
So it's just like those
yeah. He's calling my signs. Why does this guy keep calling? It's me again. And but yeah, so at that point, like you said, you know, we had to make sure that, you know, everything was in alignment. You know,
absolutely, man. Because it really is, man. I mean, you like your business partner, like, is going to become your best friend. Like, you know, like that is one of the closest people other than like, you know, family and like, you know, personal relationship or anything like that. I mean, that is like, that's your person, you know, you're going to spend a lot of time with that person. So it's not something that, you know, you should just jump into lightly for sure.
Right. And some people jump in for the wrong reason, right?
Absolutely.
That's what I got from a lot of people. They just jumped in because they felt like they needed help and they just wanted someone to help them. In reality, in most cases, they just needed to hire somebody. You know,
right.
Hire an acquisitions or a dispositions person to be able to help them with the business. Right.
Yeah. No, that's a huge mistake. If you ever bring in someone as a partner to like fill like a job, like role, like an acquisition, that would be a horrible mistake in my opinion.
Right. I agree.
Or if you're friends, you see a lot of guys.
Yeah, and even friends too, man. Like that's tough, right? It's a tough dynamic to get it changed over from business partners to friends.
Right. Yeah. So if that's their primary qualification, you're probably making a mistake.
Absolutely.
Well, you guys met through your marketing. You've taken off. Surprised to hear that you've been in the business since 2010. That's like makes you one of the first wholesalers. I hear guys that have been around since 2010 very often.
Right.
But yeah, so you guys partnered up in 2013, and it's been ever since just flipping and wholesaling.
Yeah, just a lot of flipping, a lot of wholesaling. We primarily, and you know, over time, right? Like it's been a constant. Like, okay, sometimes we're more flipping, sometimes we're more wholesaling, sometimes we're more 50-50. Where we are right now in the market, and like, you know, how we're positioning ourselves, we're more wholesaling. We are still doing some flips. But it's really got to make sense. You know what I mean? Right. So we're being very selective on what we're flipping. Just because, right? I feel like where we are right now, it's a little unpredictable. And you know, we're due for some type of change, right? So
you don't want to be caught, you know, holding the bag if something changes. And so you're in the Jacksonville market, correct?
Right, yeah.
And so okay, so it's kind of like, you know, where we're at right now. I know that for us, we're probably like 99% wholesale. And, you know, if we got rid of this one hotel we'd be at 100%, but we've been holding it for a little bit. The hotel we're holding.
It's been since what, November?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
But we'd be, you know, of course, the same thing that you said, you know, is that we're finding it best to just stay in that wholesale arena. But you did say that sometimes you decide to flip it. So what is that deciding factor for you, the ones that you decide to flip versus wholesale?
I mean, so here, like, it's got to match like under 250, right? Like resale price, ARV. It needs to be like a rehab that we can get done easily within 3 to 4 weeks. And it's got to be a highly desirable neighborhood where a lot of stuff isn't sitting on the market and things are selling quick, right? The days on market is low. Basically, the best neighborhoods around, like that's the only thing that we would consider flipping. And actually, it's funny you said that about your property that you had since November. We just closed last week a property that is one of our last rehabs that we actually had in inventory that was for sale that we finished like in October last year, and it was at the beach, highly sought after location, priced below market. And of course it was in the higher threes. So it broke that $250,000 mark. And we made that decision after this, right? As far as learning from that. But yeah, man, we just literally closed on that property last week, and we've been holding, and that was the longest rehab we've ever held. Usually most of them sell extremely fast, and this one it just sat, man.
It's crazy to hear guys like yourself that are experienced talk about getting focused on one thing or the other. One of my problems when I got into the business, and I know with a lot of new guys, is the shiny object syndrome. I can make the extra 20 grand. But for you guys, you own a business. You're not the one that's actually going to the house every day to check up on it, while it's in rehab. You have the ability to do some of the more diverse things because you have a team in place.
Right.
How would you describe the importance of focus and what that role plays in your business? Man,
I think that's a great point that you're making. Because that is honestly like one of the keys to running a successful, not even just this type of industry, but any kind of business, like really, really dialing in and getting focused. It's easy to like follow like the shiny objects and like the new thing that comes up, or kind of like following what everyone else is doing, but really just like knowing and understanding your market, using any experience that you have, leveraging, you want to follow what other people are doing as well, right, in your same market, but at the same time, draw your own conclusions, and then just really hone in on what you're trying to accomplish, right? Like, if you're not focused, like, you're not going to be 100% one way or the other. Like, you're just spreading yourself all over the place. And what I've found is being focused is going to, create the biggest return on your time and obviously in your business.
So tell me, how do you and Hunter focus in y'all's? Like, I know Hunter goes after the money.
We try to divide and conquer, man. Honestly, like, I have a certain set of skills that, are my superpower. He's got a certain that's his superpower. So we try to be very aware, and like looking at each other like, hey, you're good at this, you're good at that. This isn't my strongest suit and that's not his strongest suit. So, we've just really divided it up and said, all right, this is how we're going to do this. This is what you're going to focus on. This is what I'm going to focus on. And then we just hold each other accountable to that.
So he focuses, you just divide it up. You focus on this, I focus on this. And then next week we meet in Vegas. That's pretty much what I see in y'all's business from a distance. Every 3 weeks or so, you guys are closing a deal, but you happen to be on a golf course.
Just so happen to be on a golf
course. In Vegas. The power of systems, right, and leveraging other people's time.
Right.
But it's real important for new wholesalers to know that you guys are leveraging other people in a lot of the activities that you're doing.
Oh, no, absolutely, man. Here's the thing, dude. Like, our team is the core, right? Like, we couldn't do what we're doing without them. They're great people. They've really worked together as a team. And I think it's really important for anyone looking, like, when you're hiring, like, make sure, like, really take the time to make sure you're hiring the right people, because it's going to save you so much time and headache and money in the long run. And, don't be afraid to like have your team, like, meet that person as well and see if it's someone that they get along with, right? Does everyone's core values line up with the company's core values? Like, that's the kind of stuff that is going to create a real atmosphere for success.
And, speaking of that, so I know you guys, what does your volume look like? And then what does your team look like right now?
I'm sorry, I missed that first part.
So your volume, so what type of volume you guys doing right now in deals? And then what is your
I got you. Yeah. So last year we were, I think like 120 something, 120, just shy of 130. And that was just on wholesale. That's not including like flips and stuff like that. And then this year we should be closer to about just over 2. But we're really, here's where I'm at, like, and I'll get to the team too in a second. Like, I think that the volume thing is really like become like, it's like really spread throughout the community. It's like an ego thing, right?
Right.
Like, how many deals are you doing? What really matters is how much freaking money are you? That's what's important. So I don't care if I did 5 deals a year, but if I made $5 million, I'm cool with that.
Right.
Like, so, we're really trying to shift more of the focus on not as much as, hey, how many deals are we doing, like, volume wise, but how much money are we freaking making? Right. And then the team, we have, two 2 acquisitions, we have 1 dispositions, we have 1 full-time marketing manager, we have 1 transaction coordinator / office manager, we have 1 lead coordinator, we have 1 full-time like data specialist as well that literally compiles all our lists, goes into all the public records, and builds all that stuff out every week.
Right.
We also have the brokerage now, and we have 2 full-time agents in that. And I feel like I'm missing somebody. So if you watch this and I missed you, I'm sorry. Off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure that's close to all of them. But yeah, I feel like I'm missing one. I just don't know.
So you say, and the most important one, I'm not going to say their name, but they are the most important one, and we'll move on.
And is everyone in office or virtually or VAs, or is everyone?
Only one person is virtual. Everyone else is in office.
Okay. All right. And so, for those people that are wanting to go out and build a team, what would you say has been the biggest struggle with building a team and keeping the team moving towards your goals?
Man, I'm going to tell you, we could do a whole podcast just on that alone. I mean, honestly, like what I've learned so much over time, man. And it really, like with the team thing, man, it is like, so as like an entrepreneur, right? As someone that like, maybe you don't have a background in any kind of management experience or anything like that. Like you're coming into this, man, like you got to understand you're a leader, right? Like you're a manager until you get someone, like you get to the point where you can bring on someone that's actually a manager. Like it's a whole different set of skills, man, than doing deals. Like you are like, they're paying attention to what you're doing. Like you got to be the one holding them accountable. It requires a lot of time, energy, and focus when you're building that out for sure. And I highly suggest that you learn as much as possible, like as you're doing that, and join like masterminds, really invest in yourself throughout that process, because it is going to be a huge learning curve if you don't have a background in management.
We noticed that on our end. It's right. Once you go and you do it, but then when you have tasked other people to go do that same job, you might not see the same result, right?
Right.
And you got to be ready for that, and you got to be able to manage those results versus thinking that people are gonna, be entrepreneurs like you, right? In most cases, they're not going to have that entrepreneur mindset, and if they do. Right. In most cases, they're going to be out the door pretty soon.
Yeah, man. I mean, it is like retention is always going to be an issue that, and again, like going back to making sure that you're hiring the right people, because it can really become a full-time thing, just building the team,
Right.
if you're not doing it the right way. So always leverage like whatever, other people that have made mistakes doing this. And they've really found the ways that work the best, that are in the same type of business, like, learn from what you're seeing out there. Because I can tell you right now, like you're going to fail a lot when it comes to building the team. It's just part of it. You're just going to learn a lot. Right. But you should make sure that you understand that going in, and that you use that for your personal growth and to become a better leader.
Yeah. Working through people is extremely difficult. And then you tack on it's the wrong person to begin with, and it becomes infinitely more difficult.
Yeah. And so with that, you figure since you have a fairly large team for a wholesaling business, and then we look at, the amount of work it takes to get to 120 deals. What does your marketing look like right now?
So your editing guy, do you guys edit this, or do you have someone edit?
We have someone that edits it.
Someone should be able to tie it in.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be fun. If we remember what we were talking about.
Yeah. So
we just got done talking about the team stuff.
Hiring the right people. Yeah, right. Yeah. So I think you froze up.
I was talking about marketing. So with that, you got a sizable team. Last year you did just shy of 130 deals. So it takes quite a bit of marketing to make that happen. So, what did your marketing look like last year? And what was your top marketing channel?
Last year, it was a rival between obviously mail and also calling, but definitely mail is what brought in the majority of the revenue, and that's probably because of like the obscene amount that we spend on mail, and how many like mail pieces we send. It's a ridiculous number. So what we found though is, people have been taking this like blanket approach, like, for a long time now, and it costs so much money, man. Even though like here's where it got to for us, right? Like we pull all these different types of like specialty lists and everything else, and we're hitting all those, but you're limited, right, to how many of those that you can send. So of course, like, oh well, we want to grow, so we're going to just freaking hit a lot more people and go a little bit more broad. And what we found is like tracking that over the last 2 years, that it serves us a lot better to more focus on the lead quality versus the quantity, and not worry as much about, hey, I'm sending out 100,000 pieces of mail or whatever a month, but maybe I'm only sending out, I would rather send out 20,000, get less leads, but get higher quality leads that result in more conversions, right? So, and historically, let's just be honest, real estate investors typically suck at marketing. Right? Like everyone kind of wants to do the same kind of thing. Once someone comes up with someone new, it kind of just spreads like wildfire throughout the community. And then everyone adapts it, kind of like cold calling, right? Like cold calling was never a thing until like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And now it's like the primary marketing channel of almost everybody. Right. So, yeah, man, like we've really, really just tried to like hone in on, looking at all the ROI, like where are we spending money here? Where should we be spending more money? And where should we just, some channels, like we'll just completely remove. If it's not performing, we've tested it multiple times in different ways, and it just isn't performing to the point that I would like to see it. Even though it might be bringing in deals, I'll just cut it and spend that money somewhere else that performs at a higher level.
Right. And so you mentioned that with your direct mail, that was probably the source that produced the most deals. And you said that you were able to now focus it in. Like, what did you do to look for that? Kind of focus in your direct mail.
Yeah, great question. So what I did, man, is just look at all the historical data that we had. So the advantage that we've had is that we have literally sent so much mail over the last few years. Just last year, we sent 1.5 million pieces of mail.
Okay.
So
from the post office, that much mail, that's a lot of mail.
That's a lot of mail. So, we just went back, man, throughout all the data. And I highly suggest, like, if you are at a point, like I know there's probably a lot of people, there's people at all different types of levels on here, right, that are listening to this. But if you are at a point and with your team that you have someone that's dedicated to marketing, make sure, man, that you are tracking all that stuff and you're having like regular meetings. Like I have weekly, I look at the numbers daily, but then I also do weekly meetings with marketing, monthly meetings with marketing, and so on and so forth, so I can go back and look at everything and really make decisions based on what the data tells me. And what it told me is that, hey, the majority of our deals are coming from these types of lists, whatever, that are not as broad, and then you reference them back to the broader list, and obviously those people are on there, but it's like, hey, maybe we just freaking really zone in and zone in on, the specialty type list that are producing the majority of the deals. It's a lot less spend and it produces similar results or better. So that's really the thought process behind the mail side.
Right. Yeah. And I see a lot of that right now because, for people that are saying, well, mail costs a lot. Well, so does cold calling will cost a lot if done wrong. And so does the other one, RVM, anything, right? It'll start costing a lot, but you see a lot of people jump into it because they think it's the cheapest way to get started with marketing, and they don't. And direct mail kind of has a, you got to do it for a while before you see any results, right? But what a lot of people are doing now is kind of stacking and seeing like, are there multiple motivations that are in there for the property that they want to buy, and that's able to bring their costs down. So it sounds like that's what you're doing as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. We just go through, man. And like, we just look through all the data, where are all the deals coming from? And then we just pull probably every kind of specialty list known to man. Some you got to almost like fly out to Alaska and pick it up and then bring it back. But it ends up being worth it. So, and at the end of the day, it still saves you a lot of money, and you should get just as good or better results from doing that, right? With spending a lot. So it makes sense.
Right. And so to add to that, so I know one thing that, if anybody's listening to this, one thing you got to have in order to make sure that mail, that mail is going out, but also making sure that you're bringing down that cost per deal is making sure you have good data, right?
Sure.
And I know that you guys have built out a program, a system that'll help people with that. Can you kind of explain what that is? And 'cause I know you guys have gotten into a little bit of the list providing business now. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. So it's called REI Automator. And basically it has all the, the normal lists as well, right? But what we've done is basically go directly to the source, right? To the big data that the huge corporations are using for marketing, like the most reliable data that we could possibly find out there. And it's highly accurate. But then we've added in like the bankruptcy, the divorce, all different types of liens and, so a lot of specialty lists in there as well. And then, we just tried to make it where it was as close to being able to push a button and, really get you deals as we possibly could. The only thing it really doesn't have is a CRM, but it has skip tracing. It has direct mail. It has all the basic fundamentals along with, even an extremely accurate rehab estimator, goes into every market, pulls your average cost for materials and labor and everything else. It does a lot of stuff, man. So we've used that to our advantage, not just from the lead generation side, but also for converting, right? Because the data and analytics, it will actually heat map. Like if you're a virtual investor, it has a tool in there called Virtual Invest where it can heat map anywhere in the country down to an actual house, right, in a neighborhood that you can zoom in on and check out. And it'll give you all the data, like where's the best cash flowing houses at, what are the opportunities look like in this area. And it shows you, right, if you're an investor and you want to go into another market, it'll show you where the best neighborhoods are for doing deals. So there's a lot of cool stuff that we use it for. Also for appointments, preparing for appointments. Like I said, it has the MLS, like real nationwide MLS access. So push a button, get a CMA for, any house, basically anywhere. And then, all the market data as well, right? Like, this is the kind of stuff that, you can really use to your advantage if you understand how to use it. So we've really leveraged it, man, and it's been great for us. We just locked up another like $30-something thousand deal, using it the other day.
Okay, that's awesome, and it's nationwide. So if you're a virtual wholesaler, I mean that's a tool that you need to have in your toolkit.
Absolutely, man.
Literally, we're expanding to San Antonio, and just getting MLS access in San Antonio was quite a chore,
right?
And it's expensive.
Yeah, and it costs like $1,500 or so to get it added on, right?
Absolutely, man. And that's why we have a lot of realtors jumping in there, man, that are like here, there's 4 different MLSs, 5 different MLSs just in these like immediate 3 counties around me. Well, they would have to join each one of those MLSs and pay all those dues, or they just pay, the $97 a month and they have access to all of them.
Oh, wow.
It just makes a lot more sense. Plus all the other features.
You pay by the lead, you pay by the skip trace. How does the fees work with
So how it works is you get all the features, right? So in every plan, all the features are included. The only thing that you're going to pay for is the skip tracing. You're going to pay for those, right? If you want to send, it has ringless voicemail built in. You're going to pay for the ringless voicemail. But everything, and then obviously the direct mail. Like if you order direct mail in there, you're going to pay for that. Right. But it works in tiers, right? So you get all features for $97 a month, and you can export up to 10,000 records out of the system. For $397, it's 50,000 records, and then for $597, it's 100,000 records per month. So, what would 100,000 records cost you from List Source? You know, just
a lot of money.
A lot of money.
a lot of freaking money.
And you better hope
Right.
that list was correct.
And if it's a vague list, it's going to be a lot of money. If you get any kind of specific.
I mean, honestly, man, like we've just made it to where it's like it's such an extreme value. Like it really makes no sense not to do it. Free 7-day trial. You get in, you don't like it, then just don't stay in. But you know, that's it, man. We tried to make it extremely easy. There isn't even a setup fee right now. We kind of waived that for launch. So you can jump right on in, test it out. And, you know, if you like it, stay on board.
Okay.
Man.
What's the name of it again?
It's REI Automator.
So REI Automator, and we'll put that in the show notes. And then for our listeners that want to go and check it out, you said that there's a 7-day trial, and they just
7-day free trial. You can go to flipmorehouses.com.
Okay. Flipmorehouses.com, and that's where you get the information on how to get set up with it.
Yep. You can sign up right there, get a free trial, check it out, and you know, like I'm telling you right now, man, like it's a great tool, and we're super excited about it. A lot of people are going in there, and you know, it's like, what's your edge, right? Like in 2019, like how can you get an edge over everyone else? It's getting highly competitive out there, and this is a great tool to do that.
And I agree. It's like I said before, it's like, you know, who can get the best data and the cleanest data, and can with that data, can you get something besides an absentee owner? Right? You know, can you get someone that has some type of issue going on that, or you know, that you're going to be able to buy the house, you know, whether it's bankruptcy or anything like that, foreclosure. And a lot of the national lists, you can't really get that information that are out there. Right.
Yeah, and it does have the foreclosures, pre-foreclosures on there, like the NODs, like, I mean, all that stuff it has in there. But what's really cool is all the lien stuff. Like it has HOA liens, all the tax liens, mechanics lien. So almost any different type of lien you could almost think of, like it actually has those in there. And then you can filter it like multiple ways too, to say, hey, I only want properties that are in foreclosure and have you know, a tax lien or whatever, and then you can pull those. So like there's all different ways you can run it. And then obviously cash buyer, like advanced cash buyer data is in there as well.
Awesome. So definitely check it out. He's got a 7-day trial for you to go in and give it a look-see. But definitely, like I said, it's all about the data. All right. If you got some good data, that's really get the edge at, and you're not just broad. Broad these days will cost you a lot of money.
It will.
Throwing it out there.
Ask me how I know.
You spent it, right? There was a time where you can go broad and, you know, and you still have like a, you know, one.
Yeah, and you can still get deals out of it, man, if you want to go broad, but it's going to cost you a lot more money. You know, there's really just no sense in doing it.
It seems like that's the focus in your business in more ways than one, is trimming the fat and focusing on what
Absolutely, man. We're like the theme for this year is profitability. That is the theme for this year, is like, how can we really hone in and, you know, just really like, we want to make the most money possible. Like we're not getting caught up in we need to do 1,000 deals or anything like that. Like how are we going to make more money? That's what we're at.
And so where would you leave our, you know, our new listeners, our listeners that are actually new in the business, just getting started? Maybe they've gotten some deals under their belt. What kind of advice would you give them right now in the market that we're in today?
Yeah, man, I would say this. I would say, for one thing, you're going to need to stay extremely consistent, right? But also, how do you separate yourself from everyone else? That's really what you should be asking yourself and what you should be focusing on. How can you be different, right? Like everyone has the same message, the same pitch, like everyone's doing a lot of the same thing. So how are you going to stand out amongst everyone else, right? And then be consistent. Don't let stuff get to you. Like, I mean, you're going to fail a lot. It just is what it is. Like, how bad do you want it, right? Because if you want it bad enough, then you're going to be willing to, you know, just go through whatever it takes to make it happen. It can happen for you, but you got to be willing to put in the work and effort. It's a simple business, but it's not necessarily easy. So really hone in on how you can be different, present yourself in a way that no one else is really presenting themselves, that the market will respond to.
That's perfect. And it's funny because Andy was just saying.
I really interrupted you. I apologize. But we've said
No, you're fine. You're fine.
It's simple, but it's not easy. We've been saying that for the last couple of months, and it's so true.
Right.
It's simple when it happens, but in all, it's not easy.
Right.
No, man.
The new investors get stuck, right? Because they see it's easy to get started as a wholesaler. You can just raise your hand today and say, I'm a wholesaler, right?
For sure.
And now you're rolling. But then when it comes down to marketing and, putting money into marketing, going out to see sellers and going through the process and like you said, being smart and standing out from everyone, that takes work, right? And
absolutely.
Then it gets, then when people say, well, you go and you build a team, right? So you can step away from the business. Well, that takes even more work, right? Because now you got to do some training.
For sure, man. It's
a lot of people.
It is. It's a lot of work, bro. It is. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it at all because there's a lot of people out there that make it seem like it's just so easy, and it's not bad. But man, honestly, just really, really focusing in on the best ROI positive daily task is that's however you can generate revenue, that should be your focus for a while, right? Until you really build up some money and then you've exhausted all of your resources, all your time to where it's all right, I got to grow this thing. But, not only that, you're gaining the experience and that you can translate that down as you're building your team. That way, what they should be doing, how they should be doing it. I'm a believer in that. Some people aren't. But I'm not trying to be a control freak or anything like that, but I feel like it's good to get that initial experience so you can translate that to them, right? As you're hiring, what the right type of people you're looking for, and everything else.
And that's good advice. And so for people that want to reach out to you, any of our listeners that maybe have some questions about your program, sure. I know you guys have, you've done some coaching and some programs before.
Right.
So how do people reach out to you?
You can check me out on Instagram at Expert Wholesaling and DM me. You could also email me if you want my emails on Instagram. So that's where I'm most active.
Right.
I post a lot of content and on different programs and stuff that we have. So yeah, that's still gonna be the easiest way to get contact.
Okay, perfect. And when I look at it, and if you are going to go to his Instagram, go back sometime because you can see that this guy has gotten in shape. He's probably got a six-pack now, getting swole on us. So
man, believe it or not, quick story. So back when I was working at the bridge company, man, I was in phenomenal shape.
Right.
You would never think this, dude, but I was actually pushing 315, benching 315 back when I worked at the bridge company.
Right.
And I'm not a huge dude.
That's some weight.
Yeah, that's some weight.
But that's 2.5 hours every single day in the gym for
Right. Well, you're looking great now, so definitely keep it up.
Thank you, man. Thank you. You guys are sexy guys too, man.
But, definitely want to thank you for coming on the show. We had a lot of fun and we definitely want to have you on there, but definitely want to appreciate you for coming on to the show.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. I always enjoy talking to you guys. Look, everybody, Andy and Undrea, they're awesome guys. You're doing the right thing. Listen to them, following them. They're doing big things. And I know they're just going to keep becoming better and better and better. Every time I talk to these guys, I feel like they just keep leveling up. So guys, pay attention, make sure you listen to their podcast and it'll help you go a long way.
It's going to bring a tear to my eye.
Yeah,
I know.
I blushed for a second there.
I'm going to have to buy him a drink in the Dominican now.
I know, yeah.
I was thinking a bottle of rum, but a drink's cool, I guess.
Looking forward to it, James, man. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Take care.